Women taking responsibility.
Dirty texts, dick pics, and boiling over.
Stop using boundaries, guys.
You have an apology problem. You are holding yourself back.
What you can do or what to do when you're not having sex.
You've never seen us in action?
There is always something that you need to do better.
Women taking responsibility. Welcome to the Morrow Marriage podcast, guys. Today, I want to bring this up because we did a live this week. It's bothered a lot of women, but on the flip side, it's helped a lot of women. And interestingly, the day before, and it's not why I went live with my business partner, James, to discuss this, but interestingly, the day before, a woman reached out and said on the YouTube playlist, she said, "Can we hear more about Kathryn's 10%?" And so I thought this would be valuable. So before we get into it, the very first thing I want to discuss is this, because we throw numbers out a lot, okay? The first thing I want you to understand is if we talk about how abusive the relationship was, my abuse, the toxicity, okay, Kathryn's reactive behavior, what we often say is that it's 10%. Kathryn was responsible for 10% of the bullshit, okay? Her reactive behavior. Now, we'll talk about more of that in a second. The other number that might throw you off is she often says the 3% of me that's vicious. That's different. Okay.
I use that during the 10% though.
That's right.
That's who I am in the 10%.
The 3% is responsible in our marriage, and we don't actually have a number. We're just throwing it out there, basically trying to say that I had shit wrong in my head. I was a shit fucking human, and I shit abused my wife emotionally, physically, sexually for too many fucking years. Kathryn was responsible for, never mind the number, but reacting, okay? And that's what this person is asking for. She said, I really want to know what Kathryn took responsibility for because I want to do everything I can. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was the most beautiful thing. The next day I went live, and it wasn't related. It was because we've got a whole schedule of what we're doing with our lives right now. And we were in line with taking responsibility.
Facebook Lives, not with our lives. We have a schedule for our lives.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Facebook Lives, yeah. Thank you. And we were talking about taking responsibility because the day before, I hadn't seen this woman's message. I was talking to men about why I believe, and my partner James was in on this, why we believe that men should take responsibility first, okay? But I wanted to empower women, which it on one hand did, on the other hand pissed a bunch of women off, okay? But I wanted to empower women because you don't understand the strength that you have and the ability, the power you have to boost your husband and get him on board, okay? I believe this is different than a man, okay? But that's why a man should do it first. So let's break it down. The very first thing is this. A man, you should take, a man, you should take responsibility first because you're either a fucking leader or you're not. You can either deal with stress or you can't. It is black and white. You say men are logical. You've said it once in your life, at least in your life once. So stop being such a bitch and just take responsibility for who you are. Look, in the last episode, I took responsibility. I said, I need to practice what I preach. Okay. I said, I struggle with my son. That's talking about what's real. Okay. I don't say I'm a fucking great dad. How many of you just lie to yourselves and say you're a great dad? Okay. Now you would say I'm a great dad.
Yes,
but I'm going to take thank you, baby. But I'm going to take responsibility for the parts that I fucking suck, even if it's 10% where I suck. Okay. And I'm just throwing a number out because I'm trying to relate it to what you're thinking about with Kathryn. Okay. Now, besides that, I think everybody should take responsibility. But the gift that I want you to have today is understanding what happened. So before I give it to you, honey, if you recall the story, okay, I almost went to jail and Kathryn didn't believe my changes. And I made a lot of changes, but I went from abusive to a fighter, okay, and more normal behavior to more improved behaviors to where I thought I was great to where I challenged Kathryn and said, it's time for you to grow or I'm out. I'll divorce you both, Ryan, the old guy, and you, okay? And now knowing what I know, I was not even in a position to lay that. I'm lucky. I'm here today in front of you with this gorgeous wife, this beautiful marriage we show and tell because I'm lucky. If it was not for her fear of losing the kids to me, right? 50% of the time, she would not have done the work and taken that responsibility. Whatever your fucking motive is, I don't care. Hopefully you hear this podcast and it's not about losing your kids. It's about you because Kathryn will tell you the beautiful byproduct was what we created in the marriage, okay? But she
And if
wo-
all you have left is saving it for the kids, though, I work with that all the time, and I've seen so many transformations.
100%. So let's just rewind. Okay. When Kathryn was forced, in quotations, okay, to take responsibility for her side of things, whatever she could control. Okay. She learned skills. I mean, she can talk about that a little bit here, but that was the catalyst for me to do my true growth.
Mhm.
Okay. When I had a wife, which we describe as a booster rocket rather than an anchor, okay, meaning I was trying to grow and I'd done a lot of work and she didn't allow it in. She didn't allow my new me out, which is very common for you guys. When people are trying to change,
I didn't believe
fucking
it.
support them.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't believe it.
And I understand why you wouldn't. I understand why you wouldn't either, you guys in the audience. But like, just do your best to say, I want this too, and move forward. So that was the reason I was able to. I mean, this is why you could tell me, I think you're a narcissist. I'm like, what the fuck's a narcissist?
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
Mm.
so now it's a little bit more mainstream, but people still don't know and don't understand.
Mhm.
Okay. So now let's rewind. So I tell you, I'll divorce you both. You get to work. Can you talk a little bit first before you get to work, what you felt like you took responsibility for?
Yes. First, can we rewind, though? I appreciate that you called me beautiful today. If anyone's watching us on YouTube, I let my hair air dry today. And seeing myself on Kick, because we have a camera in front of us, I can't believe that I'm live on YouTube looking like this. So I'm so glad my husband's still
Get your own fucking wife.
I've got this like Jerry curl or something right here. I don't even know what it is. Okay. So my 10%. I would say my 10% was 80% defensiveness. So I have some sharp qualities, but my sharp qualities usually don't come out in offense.
Mm-hmm.
I would say hardly ever. I don't want to say never, because it could be possible that I might attack, but I'm not really an attacker.
No.
It's usually in
It
response.
would
to
be an
something.
attack by defense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say
No, you could be sharp though. Like if you're just
I
being
can be
you,
very, yes.
you're just being you, and she's very charismatic and she's very blunt and she's
I'm very
opinionated.
direct.
Yeah,
I'm very
direct.
opinionated. I'm very direct. And so it is very possible that I could hurt your feelings just by being me, actually.
Yes.
And not because I don't care or don't love you. It's just I am very direct and very blunt.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also very empathetic. So oftentimes I will see that you got hurt and I'll be able to go in and I'll be able to repair that. It doesn't mean that we're going to maintain a friendship, because you might not want to be with someone that is so sharp, and that's okay. And I might not want to be with someone who have the potential to hurt. So it doesn't mean we would maintain a friendship, but I would still care about you, and I would be able to repair oftentimes very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely hurt you for no reason, just because of who I am and my opinions and my bluntness and directness. But most of the time, I think when you are at risk of being hurt, you probably aren't actually going to be hurt, because you're already in attack mode. You are the one that is coming at me. You're saying something. You are triggered. You're overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
You are throwing contempt at me. I have developed this beautiful ability to call out contempt and to be able to come in with curiosity if I feel that you are coming at me with something. It just happened yesterday. That's why you did that one-on-one call with that woman.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I feel like you're frustrated. I feel some frustration. I didn't say I feel like you're frustrated. I said, I sense some frustration. Can you clarify? There's some contempt here. And she said, yes, there was contempt. I'm sorry. Thank you for calling that out. And I was very gentle about it. And so I have an ability to be able to call it out and not necessarily defend myself anymore. But I did not have that skill. The reason that this is important, I did not have that skill back when we saved our marriage. That's what I had to learn. Because you see what happens when someone attacks you and you get defensive. My famous line is, do you know my line about defensiveness?
No.
Your mouth opens.
No, I don't know.
And your ears close.
Oh, yes, I've heard you say that.
So when you get defensive and you defend yourself because of something somebody else said, your mouth opens and your ears close. So you're no longer hearing what that other person said. I teach this to my wives. The moment that you invoke defensiveness in your husband, and it's not your responsibility to make sure your husband is not defensive. It's your husband's responsibility. But what if he doesn't have the skills and you do? That means now it is your responsibility not to invoke it. You hold your husband's heart in the palm of your hand. And the last thing you should want is to invoke anything that's contemptuous, negative, anything that's, not something positive you don't want to invoke. And it's okay to have some negativity, some conflict, because when you have the skills to get through it, it makes you stronger. But mostly, if you're listening to this podcast, you might not have the skills. And so it's not smart or advisable to invoke defensiveness ever, actually. And so for me, the biggest thing that I needed to control was my defensiveness, because anytime I heard something from him that could be hurtful, I would defend myself instead of looking deeper to see why is he saying that. It doesn't justify that your spouse said something that was shitty to you. However, if you can handle the shitty comment and go deeper and go in with curiosity, you can diffuse it by figuring out what's underneath. You never have to tolerate emotional abuse. And I'm not saying that anything that he did was warranted or deserved, or there's no justice involved there. However, if I didn't defend myself and I listened more intently and I went deeper and asked questions and figured out what he was actually feeling, I was focused on his behavior. His behavior was contemptuous and I was reacting to that in defense.
Mhm.
His emotions were insecure, hurt, feeling betrayed, feeling frustrated, feeling whatever it was.
Scared. Like there's this is the problem. When you're asking about, what you can do like Kathryn did to get my brain to flip. Okay. Because that's what happened. I'm a 180 from who I used to be.
Mhm.
Okay. You have to understand it does suck. You don't want that. This woman I was talking to, she's like, well, what if he abuses me? And I said, can you give me an example from the last couple of weeks? Well, he towered over me and he was screaming at me 6 inches from my face. I said, well, I didn't hear that from him. Okay, so let's talk about that. Listen, I'm not saying condone it. I said, if you don't feel safe, you're going to have to do something with that. We
That's
talked about
right.
the police.
Mhm.
Okay. But what I told her was how she could speak to him in a way that would lift him, how she could speak to him and just keep the mouth shut with the dumb shit. Right.
I will say he wouldn't have gotten to the point of towering over me had I responded differently.
Mhm.
And I'm not in any way saying that you're responsible for your abuse. I'm not responsible for his abusive behavior. However, I can look back and say, if I had responded in love, compassion, and empathy, it wouldn't have gotten to the point where he thought he needed to be 6 inches from my face, because he didn't start 6 inches from my face. Is it my fault? No. But you know what? I 100% could have circumvented that and gone in a different direction. And it had a lot to do with how I responded and my defensiveness.
This is so important to understand.
Mhm.
Listen, we know this is true. We're not making this up, because look at who we are today, where our marriage is at, and who I am as a man. This is how powerful it is. You might not be in a great place with your marriage right now. Okay. But if you can understand that the exact lesson she's teaching right now is not a fucking theory, it's a fucking fact. It happened with us and it happens in relationships when we coach. So I don't care. But you got ridiculed on a reel about a year and a half, 2 years ago, where she said from this podcast, if you had a fight with your husband, go back in with gratitude
And thank him.
And this woman I talked about this week, or on the call with her this week, and I said the same thing. Go thank him. Hey baby, same team, same jersey, smiling. That's a line from Kathryn. I gave her some of the lines that you used to use. Hey, I fucking love you, right? And like, you don't understand. I know you want to be defensive, but you don't understand. The kill him with kindness, I didn't make that shit up. Kathryn didn't make that shit up. People want it. It's just they're in their own shit and their own pain. So if you're taking responsibility, like Kathryn did, a woman does not know. And I don't believe this is the same with a man. You can be kind, but it's not the same. Okay.
A woman
but
has so much power.
Yes, you have a husband that's not on board. You have a husband that's angry. You have a husband that goes, fuck you, and goes to the computer screen. Like, you don't understand how much power you have as a woman if you can just lift him.
Because what do
praise
men want?
Him. They want respect is the fucking number one thing men fucking think of.
Mhm.
Right? How do we give that? Gratitude, love, adoration, edification. And they want their woman.
They want it from their woman.
That's right.
And when you don't give it, I'm not justifying cheating in any way, but when you don't give that to him, he is lacking.
He is like it.
And it's so sad.
When I talk to men and I'm bringing them into the program, I'm like, yeah, but like when you can tell, and I'm thinking of Kathryn, when I can tell she's across the room and she sees me, she's with some other girls here. She's doing, the Kathryn socialized thing. And, everybody's becoming her best friend. And she sees me, she makes eye contact. She says, I love you. I know it. Okay.
I do love you.
Thanks, baby. That's the kind of shit that your husband needs. So you have to get out of it. If you're a woman and you want more, you have to stop defending yourself and you have to start focusing on the foundation. He doesn't feel loved. That's what it is. That's why he goes to another woman. That's why he talks himself up to you and praises himself for being so great at things. That's why he trashes you when he doesn't feel good. I'm not justifying any of this fucking behavior. I am working desperately hard to change this behavior in men all around the fucking world. Okay. 107 countries now today, baby. 107. So I'm not condoning the behavior. What I am saying is you can make the changes happen faster. That's why I got on the phone with this woman to help her so that I could continue to do this work with this man. I'm not justifying or excusing any of his behaviors. Okay. What else? What else did you do, baby?
Do you know what? It's actually that simple.
Well,
By controlling your own responses, reactions, and defensiveness, unless you are the contemptuous one. Now, I could throw contempt at my defensiveness, but I wasn't really coming in with criticism and contempt unless I felt attacked. And I think for women, that's the biggest thing. Defensiveness. And I used to say, I can never get rid of defensiveness because if I don't defend myself, who will? It is a wrong way of thinking, because when you stop protecting yourself and you start thinking about protecting your husband, even if he's being an asshole, which I know that he is right now, that is when you're going to make progress. So that's really it, honey. It's that simple.
That's simple. And
it's just not easy to execute. And I say to my women, the things that I teach, you've probably heard before. You've probably tried to do them before. But you know what? No one teaches them like I do. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the following that we have.
It's absolutely not crazy.
I have discovered a way to teach women how to drop the defensiveness, how to invoke empathy and compassion in themselves, because it's not about what your husband deserves. This is my newest thing. It's not about what he deserves. It's about who you want to be. And I've said this for a long time in a lot of different ways, but it really is that simple.
I want you guys to understand. This is a really cool way to close this. Okay. So, a man can take responsibility and he can lead. I don't teach a man the way that Kathryn teaches. I teach a man to love his wife, but be a firm, gentle leader, a soft and tender man, but know where he's going and bring the motherfucking fun, because life will be better over here while she's over here being bitter, angry, contemptuous, and defensive. Okay. That's how a man does it. How a woman does it is she lifts her husband. She doesn't lead him there. She gives him the opportunity to see what it feels like and to feel powerful. There's a big fucking difference. If he feels strong, he wants to be a leader because he starts to believe in himself. Because unfortunately, the way it is, we were all raised in this generation or these last few generations to where we need your fucking approval. And until we can fill our own cup, that's why we have like this competition in our mobile app, go.morrowmarriage.com, where we're like, who's the freest man on the planet? Right? Because we don't need our wives to survive anymore. I'll fucking die without Kathryn, okay? But I don't need her to survive. I'm not dependent on her. The more dependent I was on Kathryn, the less I had myself and the less she needed me.
If he leaves, I'll kill him anyway.
Yeah,
just kidding. Just kidding.
Okay, guys, you heard it. I'm a little bit scared. Oh, man. Hey, guys, if you're getting a ton of value, please share this episode. Please like this episode. Please leave us a 5-star review and help us get this into more hands and help more people. Thank you. Seriously, it's that simple, guys. Men, lead. Take her where you want to go. Women, give him the opportunity. Lift him. And honestly, if we would have known this in the beginning, Kathryn would have shown me what it felt like to be loved so fast that I maybe never would have been, because I was the most.
But then we wouldn't be able to help you guys.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be able to help you and all that shit. So yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason. Thank you, Jesus. But anyways, now it's your turn, guys. Take responsibility and go get your life.
Bye.
See ya.